The UK government borrowing more last month than in any December since monthly records began more than 30 years ago. That's according to the latest figures from the Office for National Statistics. Well, the spending on support for our household energy bills and the rising cost of debt interest have driven up the borrowing. But we may actually be seeing some welcome signs the economy is starting to turn the corner, according to a new industrial survey. Yes, could be a bit of good news. Our business and economics editor Liam Halligan with On the Money. So it's not all doom and gloom.
I'm not Mr. Doom and Gloom, Mark. I look for the positives in the British economy. I have enormous faith in British entrepreneurialism, British drive, in the ability of our people to get out of bed every morning and go to work, and the ability of our business leaders...
Even if the train's cancelled.
...to make good decisions. They'll cycle to work, they'll crawl to work. No, look, these are tough economic times, and this is reflected in the public finances.
Yeah.
Let's just do that first of all. So the borrowing number for December came out this morning from the Office of National Statistics.
Eye-watering, wasn't it?
And let's have a look at it. So in December 2022, some nice graphics here, the British government borrowed in that month alone £27.4 billion, and that's double what it borrowed in December 21, more than double when it borrowed £10.7 billion in a single month. Why did it borrow so much in December? Well, during December 2022, energy support accounted for £7 billion. We can see that one on the next graphic. And interest payments on government debt, that accounted for eye-watering, truly incredible £17.3 billion. Now, not all of that £17.3 billion will be paid back at once. It'll be paid back in dribs and drabs because of the way government financing works. But 17.3 billion quid in a single month on debt, that's just servicing the debt.
Wasted money.
It's not paying it back,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
It's like serving the interest on your credit card.
Yeah.
OK? And that's because not only are your interest rates a lot higher than this time last year, as the Bank of England has raised interest rates and the markets have responded, it's also marked because of inflation. A lot of our government debt now, in order to sell it, the government's had to index link it. That is, say, we will upgrade the interest we pay to reflect the inflation that's happening. So the value of your money, the person, the institution usually paying, lending the money to the government, doesn't lose out. And so huge interest payment there because of both higher interest rates and higher inflation.
Now, the big picture on this explains why, of course, Jeremy Hunt keeps saying we just can't afford these big pay rises at the moment because things are so tight. We've had yet more indications in terms of perhaps recession in the economy with the PMI figures, and certainly we've got the sort of business indications. One of the measures, anything below 50 is not good. We're at, 47.8 on that particular measure.
Lower than we thought.
Lower than we thought. So, the warning signs are still there, aren't they?
It's a real mixed picture on where the economy is going. Look, the best way to get rid of this debt or to make it manageable is to grow the economy, right?
Yeah.
If you grow the economy, the government raises more tax revenue, it has to borrow less, it can pay back the debt, these debt interest payments can come down. But is the economy growing? Now, we know officially the economy grew 0.1% only, but at least it was positive in November. And that probably means we've avoided that 2 consecutive quarters of economic contraction in the second half.
Which is the definition of recession.
Of 2022. But then, as you say, there's PMI numbers coming out there, like a survey of business opinion. They kind of front-run the GDP numbers, if you like. And that's looking a bit gloomy this morning. But, so I was, looking around over the last hour, and I didn't notice this earlier, and I should have. That's my mistake. So the CBI is the Confederation of British Industry, which represents literally tens of thousands of pretty big British businesses.
The big hitters.
And they do surveys of business opinion, of business leaders. And they're very detailed surveys, and they're worth watching closely. And the CBI has just said today that cost and pricing pressures in UK manufacturing do remain high. This is supply chain price pressure.
The stuff coming in before they start making it.
But shows signs of easing, right? In the quarter to January, average unit costs grew at the slowest pace since April 2021. Now, that was before all these supply chain issues happened. as we were coming out of lockdown, if you like. So this is a really good sign. This is a really good sign that inflation is going to soon come down. And I'll be really interested to see tomorrow some more numbers come out, something called the Producer Price Index. You and I have talked about this before. It's a really, really important thing that we monitor closely here at GB News. We have lots of small business folk in our community watching us on TV and radio, online. The PPI, not the CPI, that's household inflation. The PPI is a really good indicator of where price pressures are. Now, those numbers have been delayed for December, but they're going to be coming out tomorrow. And I'm hopeful that, as this CBI survey shows, the PPI will show price pressures are now receding, which means inflation can come down, which means interest rates don't have to rise, which means the cost of living crisis should start to ease.
Yeah, and the hope from Jeremy Hunt, the Chancellor, is that this inflation could halve by the summer, down to around 5%. That's what they're aiming for.
Well, Rishi Sunak has pledged a few weeks ago, when inflation was 10.7%, it's since come down to 10.5%, it's consumer inflation. He pledged to he said, I will halve inflation this year, right? Which means by the end of the year, it will be half. Now, almost everyone thinks by the end of the year, inflation will be, 4 or 5%. The Bank of England thinks that. The Office of Budget Responsibility thinks that. Official bodies that are meant to be worried about inflation.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's any great achievement. I personally think inflation could be lower still. I don't think it will be near the 2% Bank of England target.
That's the target, yeah.
But I do think inflation, soon, as I've been writing for a couple of weeks now, will start to come down quicker than most people think. And I think the CBI survey is one of the signs that that's going to happen.
Right. You heard it here first. Liam, thank you very much indeed.